And right now it is time for the post-Hanukkah and post-Christmas edition of the Republican American Report with Ruth Epstein. Good morning, Ruth.
Good morning. Post is right.
Yeah.
It's now on to New Year's. Well, big story, obviously, is the poor covered bridge in West Cornwall.
You know, I don't understand that story. I saw it in the Republican American. And how can somebody enter and then hear the racket that they're destroying and not stop,
Yeah.
but drive all the way through?
That's the question on everybody's mind as to how it all came down. Virtual, no pun intended. But we have the name of the man is Edward Hodge from Colchester. Was driving westbound on Route 128, and obviously with an overload, a large vehicle, or a trailer, I think, went through halfway, heard all the noise, and realized there was a problem and kept going, and really did extensive damage, taking down all kinds of beams and the sides. And so he did stop on the Route 7 side, and the traffic control and police got him. But the bridge is closed now for at least a week. Don't think they're starting until tomorrow. Today's a holiday as well. So,
it looks like all the crossbeams on the top are affected, every single one.
Yeah, well, they must have just hit every single one of them. And as you can imagine, people are just, very upset. And, of course, it causes a detour. So, for the poor folks who live just across the bridge, just to go get their mail, they'd have to go, all the way up and around through Cornwall Village and down. So it's an inconvenience. It's an expense. Now, the state owns that bridge, unlike Kent, where the town owns Bulls Bridge and is responsible for all the costs and maintenance and repairs. This is owned by the state because it's a state road, so the state will take care of the repairs and everything. But it's going to be a while. As I say, they're probably not starting until tomorrow. So.
I saw a lot of comments from different people on the internet saying, why don't they, put up those big iron things like they do in Kent? But it's a state road. I don't think they can do that. I think what the best they can do is put indicators up that with flashing lights, that means you're too high.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You've seen, you put up the warning sign as you're entering West Cornwall, and then as you get before the bridge, you've got flashing lights on either side that tell you whether or not you're too high or not. Because like I said, I don't know how somebody can get halfway through and not stop and just say, "Wow, I've really screwed up here."
Yeah. But there was a lot of chatter on Facebook about, the barriers, but and the look it would have, and I think it would be kind of hard to put them up there, so certainly on the Route 7 side.
It would be almost impossible on both sides because it's not the same type of landscape. It really isn't.
Right. So, well, we'll certainly follow through, and we'll be up there watching as they start the repairs. So, and we'll see how long it takes. Also, this whole week has been weather related. So cold, and windstorm that came in caused power outages all over. I'm not even sure everybody's still. There aren't a couple still without power. There were really some folks in the hinterlands of these towns were out for at least 3 days. No heat, no electricity, no nothing. Were you okay?
We lost power in Sharon, but we lost power in a weird way where it actually hurt our generator. So our generator, we had to get, and they came, this is a great thing about living out where we live. Our electrician, GK Electric, we notified them, and they found a portable generator big enough to bring in.
Oh, wow.
It took several hours and get us back on the air. Now we've just got to figure out about what we have to do to fix the generator. But we lost power in Sharon for a long period of time. I lost power at my house for about 2.5 hours, but the generator kicked in. Thank goodness gracious. But I think Sharon was the hardest hit lengthwise.
Sharon really got hit. I spoke with Brent Colley over the weekend, and I mean, as I say, the hinterlands, but even downtown Sharon got hit, and there were really concerns. And Brent's big concern, there were a lot of roads that were totally closed off because of downed trees, and people were trapped within them. He said, if we needed emergency vehicles to get in there, we'd be stuck. They couldn't. The trees were just blocking everything. So he said, bad enough without power, bad enough without internet and phones, but when you're trapped like that and something happens, it's really scary. It's a safety issue. So hopefully everybody's back on by now. I know Cornwall opened a heating center for a couple of hours on Saturday morning just to have people get some hot coffee and charge up their phones. But, you can be tough New Englanders, but after a while it really gets
when it comes through and it's single digit temperatures and it doesn't get above 10 or 11 degrees during the day, it makes life almost impossible.
It's terrible. Yeah. And add that to the holiday with plans and everything. Yeah. It was rough. Hopefully, it's going to be close to 50 by the end of the week.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. So we'll be watching that. Interesting, Women's Support Services. It's changed its name. It is now called Project SAGE, and there's an explanation as to why that was chosen. That is the organization that helps victims of domestic violence. It originated as Women's Emergency Services, then it's changed to Women's Support Services, and now it's Project SAGE. It changes with the times and with the needs and with its mission. And their headquarters now off on the street next to the just out of my head, next to the post office in Lakeville.
You're right in between the post office and Peppery.
Right. Yep. They're in there, up in there a little, and with beautiful new headquarters. Actually, it's just lovely, and so that's an interesting little story. We also had a story about dealing with mental illness and depression during the holidays. Spoke to the psychiatrist, Dr. Mubash from Sharon Hospital, and got a couple of responses. People found it helpful. It's a hard time for a lot of people mentally. So there are a lot of tips and thoughts about how people can help themselves. A lot of people are celebrating. It's great. It's joyous, and a lot of people are not. So hopefully people will get help if they need it. Quiet week, Marshall.
Yep. The only thing we could talk about, just tracked up that the need for substitute teachers. They're going to have those 3 places where if people want to apply to be a substitute teacher, they're going to have 3 of those application centers open up in the month of January.
That's incredible. Who would have ever thought?
I know.
Lisa Carter put out a plea. They're having a terrible time getting substitute teachers in Region 1, and I'm sure it's elsewhere as well. But there are 3 sign-ups. You need to bring your ID, and they'll check you out and do whatever needs to be done. But they're looking for people to sign on.
It's interesting. Bus drivers and also substitute teachers, where people actually have to apply and get part-time jobs. Very hard to fill this year. Very, very hard to fill.
Very hard. And as far as I know, I believe the rate at regional in the region is $110 a day for substitutes. So, for those who might be interested, it's a thought. And it's so different from the past. Just never had so many issues. So, but quiet week otherwise, and hopefully no more accidents or bridge damages and things like that. Hopefully it's a peaceful, quiet week and everybody can relax and enjoy, because come January, early January, we'll be revving up again.
That's it. Well, once again, Ruth, we'll speak to you next year.
We will, yes, and to all our listeners, a healthy, happy New Year.
And also Kwanzaa starts today, so Kwanzaa
That's right.
as well.
That's right.
All right, Ruth. Have a great week.
You too, Marshall. Thanks.
Take care. Ruth Epstein from the Republican American with the Republican American Report, rap-am.com on the web.